Evening, everybody.
Hello, how are you?
Pretty good.
That's good.
Welcome, Robert,
Welcome, thank you.
Veronica, and Darren and Erica are regulars. Robert and Veronica, this is your first time joining us. Is that right?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Right, yeah, first time, and yeah, I'm glad I'm joining because yeah, had a bit of a nightmare.
Oh, well, we'll see if you can help you out a little bit. What we're going to do tonight is try and answer all your questions, but we're also going to go through how to make out a basic affidavit to free yourself from the system. So have you got a copy of an affidavit for freedom, or have you done an affidavit?
Look, I met Trevor, and he did give me one. That's how I got. That's how I'm. The reason why I'm on here tonight, because Trevor's invited me.
Oh, that's me. I go by Alex.
Oh,
call me
okay,
Alex.
all right, okay, all right, Alex. Well, I have one, and I just wanted to speak to someone to get it confirmed if I could use it, because I've got a fine, and it's just a speeding fine, and
Okay, you've got two options with the fine. If you just want to get it out of the system, then what you do is you send them an agreement under equity of law. You agree to it, and you settle the matter, saying what that basically says is, good on you guys, go for it, take the money out of the trust account. It's simple as that. It's simple as a under equity of law, you as the settler, if you agree to their claim, then the matter is settled and they take the money out of your trust account. That's what they should do. Now, if they take it anything beyond that, they're being unlawful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to protect yourself from the whole system and you're looking at covering yourself from all sorts of crap,
Yeah.
then you need to have an affidavit as your base document that says that I am not the fiction.
Well, that's the way I actually want to go, because I don't want to live in a fiction world anymore. I've had enough.
Yep. Oh, well, we'll get you onto that tonight. We'll go through this affidavit. And the process of the affidavit is, because their whole system is commerce and law, that's what it all is, it's all about contracts. Under contract law, if you make an affidavit and it's not challenged, the only things that are challengeable in the court are the things that affidavit doesn't talk about. Okay, the affidavit defines what is an issue and what's not an issue, because it becomes the law between you and the parties. Now, what happens is they ignore all of that. They actually act totally illegally and unlawfully. And what you then do is you build up your evidence and you file private criminal charges against them for fraud, for kidnapping, et cetera, et cetera. That's where we're going now with this. We're going to hold them fully accountable. So it's just a process.
All right.
And so we'll get that going today. All righty. So what shall we do? Shall we start with going through the affidavit? I'm not sure. Is there anyone not done one of the freedom affidavits yet? Not filled it in, not got it sent off, been hanging about, been mucking about.
It's a common law one. Come and join it. Grab the ball if you want.
Okay, because if it's only, Michelle, are we going to do this as a recording so that we can give it to other people when they need to?
Yeah, it is being recorded, Alex.
So that's the plan, is we'll do it as that. Have I got access to document sharing?
Screen share?
Screen share, yeah.
Yeah.
Like this guy pretty much does it.
Let me work it out, and yep, sure.
Just in case I need to do it. So when you're filling out this affidavit, you will get with it an accompanying document which says how to fill out affidavit. How to fill out your affidavit. You can't get anything more obvious than that. It literally takes you through one by one what to do. So if you haven't got that document, ask whoever is organising through this video to get you a copy of that and the template so that you can do it. Now, the process is really very simple. The document is made out in either black and parts of it are in red. What you're going to do is you're going to follow the instructions. You copy systematically, sequentially, what's in red, and if it's got brackets around it, copy the brackets as well. Go into the left-hand part of your menu. It's for me where it says to edit the document, and it will give you something that says find and replace.
Which means you fill in the details.
So you then copy what's in red, you put that into the find area, and down the bottom, you type in what is needed to go in there, and then you click fix all or replace all, and it will go through the whole document and it'll fill all of those in for you. So as you systematically go through, you will find that some of them have already been changed and fixed. That's the plan for it. So let's go to an affidavit and start doing it. Where are we? Yeah. Okay, so you'll have a document that looks something like this. So we're going to go to here, the very first part that says select a simple sole name. Now, a lot of people get really confused here. They go, oh, is that what my name is? Is that my living man name? It can be anything you want. It can be. It can be Buttercups Kiss My Toes. If that's what you want your sole name to be, it could be Jono. So in my circumstance, I have selected simply Alex. That's what I resonate as a soul. Now, your soul is different to your living body. Even if you don't believe you have a soul and you don't believe in reincarnation and you don't believe in God and all those things, you would still acknowledge that your consciousness is separate to your body. So this is what we're going to give a name to our consciousness. And this is really important because it starts to create the separation between your fiction and the living man or the living woman. Now, the living man or woman has to be controlled by something. There's a process called the hierarchy of authority. You are the authority over your body unless you surrender it or somebody claims it and you don't rebut it. What we're doing here is that we are rebutting the unum sanctum of the Pope from 1302 when the Catholic Church claimed every soul on the planet for the Catholic Church. So we have to rebut that because if you don't rebut it, they own your soul. Even if you don't agree with it, it doesn't matter. You haven't rebutted it. So that's what we're going to do it now. We're going to claim our soul back.
Yeah, sanctum is important.
So type in your soul name here. Now, what I should have done, I'm going to undo this. Right, I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy it. And then I go into my part that you won't be able to see, which is the find and replace section. Let's see what we do. I might be able to do this another way.
I'm just
remember what I'm doing.
He can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to that. But I've got, now that's come up. Okay, when I'm editing it, when I go to edit the document, brings up a window, find and replace. Select a simple soul name. That's what I've put in there. That's what I've highlighted. And I'm going to replace that with Alex and click replace all. And it's only changed it once because that's all I need to do. Okay, now I close that. And I'm going to come back to our other document. Now, and through the living being it incarnated into your given names. Now, these are the names given to you by your mother and or father, and it does not include your surname, your family name. So we're going to copy that. We're going to go through the same process of clicking edit, find and replace, and we're going to replace it with Now I'm going to do mine. My mother gave me the names Trevor John. This is why people get confused as to whether I'm Trevor or whether I'm Alex. Alex just happens to also be a shortened version of my family's name, but I resonate very strongly with it. So I'm going to replace that. And it's replaced that 126 times in the document. So rather than me going to have to do every single one, it's done 126 times. Okay. So now I'm going to put in my father's family name and do the same thing.
I have a question regarding this one.
Yeah.
I changed my last name to my mom's family name.
Just stop.
If you want to, you have to think of what family you were born into. Now, you were born of your mother.
No, I mean both of them. That's both
But
clans.
you were born of your mother. You don't come out of your father. So you can choose either family to be the family or the clan.
Oh, all right.
It's up to you. You can use your mother's maiden name, or you can use your father's.
All right. I'll use my mom's.
So my father's family name there, and I'm going to type in Alexander. You notice all of this is in lowercase, and that's replaced 130 times. Now, here we go. Your full name in capital letters. This is the name that they have created on your birth certificate. Now, understand they create 3 separate trust accounts from these details. Okay, they will put your the surname first, and then a comma, and then your given names after. So they would put, for instance, they would put Alexander in capital letters, then a comma, and then they'll put Trevor John after it. They'll also do, you'll see I'm going to replace this.
Oh, I can't wait to get the knowledge to go. Oh.
114 times. Okay, so this is one of the trust accounts that they create from the details of your birth. Now, I'm just going to say this now. While you do this affidavit, I strongly suggest that if possible, you get one from your mother and your father, separate ones that rebut the birth certificate. If your mother and father have died, well, unfortunately, you can't do it. If one of them's passed and one's still alive, then you can do it for one of them. Also, you do one of these, if you're a mother or a father, you do them for each of your children. Do them for each of your children. Yes, Jan, you got a question? Jan, did you have a hand up?
No, not me.
No, I think we had a Jan on there. Never mind, I'm moving on. Now, change this date to the date in the month of which you were born. So for me, and you notice this is all in writing, it's not in numbers. You must do it in writing. So I take this one. I don't think it's going to replace it anywhere else. Replaced it twice. There we go. 11th day and the month that you were born in. Do the same thing. Find and replace and change it that way. This is for the, sorry, just to make this sure, this is not your date of birth. This is the date that you're going to get this document signed and witnessed. So if you're not sure, if you're planning to get it done tomorrow, then put 17th December. Okay. I'll just put it in here, 17th. Okay, 17th. It doesn't look right, but I know it is. If you are not sure when you can get a JP to sign it, then put a blank in here so you can write it in. Leave the month. If you don't think you can get it done before the end of the month, leave it until you can print it out and you've got a date book to get it done. So this is the date you get it signed at. In the year of God Almighty, known as 2021, of course, if you're going to wait another 2 weeks to get it done, that will change to 2022. Okay, so I'm just going to move on, work through these now. Now, people get confused here. What's your purpose? Now, this is why your soul has incarnated here. It's got nothing to do with your day job, or as we've got there, that's why occupation is in brackets, is to say, well, I've come here on a mission. Now, I've put down galactic emissary here. You might want to put galactic explorer, cosmic observer, whatever it is there. Now, remember, no one can challenge this because they have to come up with written proof. If they say, well, I don't think you're a galactic emissary, you say, well, prove I'm not. Because what you think is not fact. Okay, we're saying, hey, I'm a soul. I come to this planet. I'm not of this planet. I'm only answerable to my creator, and my creator is the creator of the whole universe, and that's where my souls come from the realm of the whole universes. So
Wouldn't they want a proof from you that you are who you are?
No, this is the thing. It's your affidavit, right? You're stating this as a matter of fact. If they don't want it, if they don't agree with it, they have to provide the proof.
Okay.
Okay, not you. Okay, they have to provide the proof because they're the one that's challenging it. That's why it's an affidavit. You're stating it's true.
Okay.
That's why the most powerful document in their whole system is the affidavit. That's why we're doing this, because there's no way known they can challenge this. It becomes very powerful. So you can put your street number and the name in. Same process. The suburb that you're in, and you'll see here, I've got this in quotes. Why would I have bothered to put suburb in quotes? Anyone want to have a go at that? Okay, quite simply, because you cannot prove that a suburb exists. It only exists on paper. It's a fiction. Okay, so we put it in double quotation marks because we're quoting something from their system. Whenever you quote something from, whenever you're mentioning something from their system or the name of somebody or the name of a corporation, unless you have a piece of paper that proves that's who they are, put it in quote marks. Otherwise, you will have been seen to consent. On the land known as Terra Australis, because the land that we are on is not Australia. So if you say that you were making this in Australia, you have consented to come under all of their laws and regulations.
Got me. Can't work this out.
Sorry, who was that? No?
I don't know, mate. I don't know nothing about them.
Yeah, well, a bit annoying me. So it was all go last week. Now I can't even get it to work.
No.
All right. So if you're not asking a question, can you just turn your mic off, please? Because I keep thinking someone's asking a question. So put your state in, and what have we got here? We've got something in square brackets. Why have I put, say, the state of Victoria? If I put this in here, why have I put that in square brackets? What these square brackets represent is something that's called the four corners rule. And what it means, that is anything that is in a box or anything that comes within 4 corners is not part of the document. Because Victoria only exists on paper. It's a fiction. Does not exist in the real world. It's a fiction. Same with a postcode. That is a military thing. And if you put these things in without the square brackets, you have consented to their jurisdiction. Simple thing like that. When you put your address at the end and you put your state and you put your postcode in, you have consented that you are under their jurisdiction. So we're removing all of the tricks in their system. And we do that through these square brackets and through quotation marks. Okay, so let's move forward. You can all read through the various aspects of this, but these confirm the fact that you are a galactic entity and you don't come under their realm. Now, the most important one of all of these is way down. We'll get to it in a minute, but you go through and at 15, you made a choice to incarnate into the form of man with a mother being, and you give your mother's given names. So if she's Mary Jane Smith, it's Mary Jane, the names she was given by her parents. Mary Jane, born of both the tribe, family, house, clan, and you give your mother's maiden name and the mother's father's name. Okay, you can see I've changed some of these here, but don't worry about that. Just go through them. You might even have to ask to find out what your grandmother's real names were and mothers were, because they often got changed. Like my grandfather's name was Ernest, but everyone called him George. Okay, so fill in those as best you can using the find and replace all system. Then it comes to the date on which you were born. Understand there is a difference between being born and being birthed. You want to avoid the terms date of birth as much as you can. Date on which you were born. If you get a document or something from them, cross out DOB or date of birth, put a line through it and write above it, date when born. Because only fictions have a date of birth. Same if a document says family name or surname, cross it out.
I didn't understand the difference. Date of birth, the date when born, and then date of birth.
Okay. A fiction, because they work under the Admiralty law, you are birthed like a ship comes into birth. You're docked. B-E-R-T-H and B-I-R-T-H. And they use it as a misnomer, a false word to make you think that birth means the same as being born. It doesn't. It has a different meaning under their system. So we don't fall into that trap. We only ever refer to date when we were born. Now, when I get pulled over by the police and they ask me for my date of birth, I say I don't have one, which stuffs them right up. And then they say, well, when were you born? I said, I don't know because I was only a baby. I can't remember, but I am being informed by my mother that it was this such and such a date. Right? So I never fall into the traps. I choose my words very carefully. And here it's very important. On the land known as, and it's the oldest name of the land of the place of birth, i.e., that's what they call it, the oldest name of the land on which you were born. Now, I was born on the land known as Terra Australis. If you are in Europe, then it depends on what the oldest name of the land part that you're is. So you just got to do a little bit of research to find out what it is. Okay.
But history is a lie, isn't it?
History is total lie.
So how can I tell?
You just hunting around. Just where were you born?
Israel.
Okay, so oldest name of Israel will be,
I don't know. If all the stories are a lie, I have no idea.
no, but just go hunting around. What you're looking for is a name that is not congruent with what it's called today.
I can look in the Bible, I guess.
No, don't look at the Bible. Just do a search online. Find out what was the oldest name that particular part of the world was known as.
Okay.
The point is, it only has to be different.
And notice what's very important here,
Isn't it?
on the land known as. Okay, you're not claiming it is. You're not claiming it. Let's say Israel's called, I can't remember what the old names are, but Sinai. Let's say it was Sinai.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to put on the land, born on the land of Sinai, then you've put it into a specific period. But if you put on the land known as, you're not saying that you agree it's that. You're just saying that's what the land is known as. Okay.
So, Alex, in our case, it's Terra Australis if you're born here.
Yep, Terra Australis if you're born on this land. So going through and filling out all of the rest of those, as you go through and fill out each one, you'll find as you go through, a lot of the others will already be filled in. So I'm going to keep going through here, because at the end of finishing this out, we're going to do certain things to it, and you're going to send me a copy so I can proofread it to make sure it's right. So read this very carefully, because it's very self-explanatory. Here's a good one. The living being, now you've given your living being a name, you've named it following your mother, is not a creature, monster, animal, instrument, surety, fiction, chattel, slave, etc. Most people don't know that a human is a monster. It's a hue man. It's a shade of a man. And if it's a shade of a man, it is less than a man, and it only has the rights accorded to an animal. And when people claim human rights, they're actually making the mistake of declaring themselves a subspecies with no rights. So human rights is a tautology, because humans don't have rights.
So should I say women and men's rights?
We'll always speak of the living man and woman, the unalienable rights of the living man and woman. Okay, so all of these paragraphs systematically remove you from their system or reinforce that you've removed from the system. Now, I'll just take you down through. All of these are pretty much the same. Go through them. If you find something that's in red, copy it, edit it, replace it, and go through it all. If you find something that doesn't work for you, you can remove a paragraph. You can just take it out. If you don't know who your father was, or mother, well, you should know who your mother was, but if you don't know who your father was, you just remove it, or you put in not known. Not known. Now, here are some good phrases to know. I, the living woman or man, you take out, am literate in English. Any other languages that you do speak, you put in there, and am not illiterate. It's really important that you make this statement, because they will, if you don't say it, they will take the presumption that you are illiterate. Same here. You must make a statement saying, I am not ignorant. I'm conscious, aware, cognizant, knowledgeable. Okay, I am not ignorant, because otherwise they make a presumption of law that you are ignorant. They make a presumption that you are illiterate, because a person is a fiction. A person is illiterate. A person cannot think. So they have no rights. Same thing here. Really important one. I am sane, sensible, intelligent, reasonable, rational, logical, and sapient, and not a lunatic. Because if you haven't made a statement saying, I am not a lunatic, they can make a presumption of law that you are a lunatic because you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, well, you must be a lunatic. And because you're a lunatic, you have no rights and they can lock you up indefinitely. So when you send them this affidavit, they've got 28 days to reply. If they don't reply within 28 days, it becomes the law. So if the police then pull you up and then they lock you up saying, oh, you know, you're a nutcase, we're locking you up under health regulations, they can't do it because they've had a chance to challenge that you were a lunatic and they didn't.
But why
So
would
now they're unlawfully holding you.
why would they care about that? They will lock you up and that's it.
It's all about having recourse, because you demand to see a magistrate, you pull out this affidavit and you say they're holding me saying I am mentally unstable. And here's a signed affidavit that they had a chance to challenge, which says that I'm not a lunatic, so they can't hold me on those grounds. Because they have to come up with proof that this is about using their system against them. If you don't have anything in writing, you are going into a world war with nothing more than your wits. You have to have your ammunition. This is the most powerful weapon you can have. And if you don't have it, you're screwed. It's a paper war. Same thing with this next one. I am financially self-sufficient, am not a pauper. Most people don't know that there's a rule in Australia, a law in Australia. If you've got less than $2 on you in cash, you're a vagrant and they can arrest you. So if you're walking around and you've got $1 million in the bank and credit cards in your pocket and you don't have any cash on you at all,
So cash on me.
you've got to have cash, you've got to have $2, at least $2 on you, or else they can pick you up for vagrancy. Okay. Now we get into the good stuff. We rebut, renounce, dispute in its entirety the Corpus Juris Civilis, which was issued by Justinian. And this is where, if you get a chance to look at the YouTube clip on the Justinian deception.
How do you spell that?
Well, it's Justinian's there in front of you. And deception, D-E-C-E-P-T-I-O-N. By
Is that the one by Romley Stewart?
yeah, it's the one by Rom's one. And he's got a couple of good videos up there. But this is what he's talking about. This is when the deception started back in around 500 AD. So you must rebut it straight away, because all of their law, what they call law, which is legislation, is based on this. Okay, it's all based on that. And if you rebut this, you're rebutting the very core of their whole system. Now, here's the other one I talked about earlier. You renounce, rebut, disassociate, and reject in its entirety any and all claims made under the Unum Sanctum issued by Pope Boniface VIII on that date, and any other subsequent papal bills, because this is when the Catholic Church claimed ownership of your soul. And they work under a principle that says, if you don't deny it, you admit it. Doesn't matter whether you know about it or not. Okay,
But that's a law they made up. If you don't deny it, you admit it. They made this up.
Absolutely. If
Who-
you don't deny
Who
it, you
asked
admit
them?
it.
No, I mean, that's your law, not mine.
But that's their justification. Their
Well, my
justification is,
justification that my law says the other way around.
well, how can you prove it? You see, they're putting stuff into writing. And they're not telling you about it. If you don't have anything in writing, you've got nothing other than your word, which should stand up, but in their system, it doesn't. The only thing that stands up in their system is what's on paper.
Right.
This is why they can't deal with the living man or woman. So you must have something that stands in their jurisdiction that says, I'm sorry, I've rebutted all of that. You can't use that. Otherwise, you've got no ammunition in their system. If they drag you in, what are you going to do? You can't just say, oh, just let me go, because they're not going to do it. What you have to do is you have to hold them accountable under their system.
They're usually not using their own laws in the system.
Well, they make them up as they go along. But I don't want to spend all this time trying to get you to understand the subtleties of this. And there's no point sort of arguing the point on it, whether, oh, but they can't do that. It doesn't matter whether they can't do it, they're doing it. What I'm trying to give you is a defense mechanism that you can use if they do.
Right.
Okay, so we rebut all of that. Now, I've had a lot of people who've created their own affidavits and that over time, and invariably people come back to me and say that this is the most thorough and complete one that's out there because it covers everything. And if you want to put something else in there, you can, but make sure you can back it up. Now we get into the Sedicate V trust accounts. Now, here's the interesting thing about these Sedicate V accounts. There's, as I said, there's 3 different names. There's that one. There's, where are they? Here's all the others. Your given name, middle initial. So that would be, if I change that one, okay, so they change, you'll get that one they'll use. They'll also use your first name and last name in capital letters. They'll use your last name first. They'll put it in lowercase. This is where they try and trick you. They'll put it in lowercase with a Mr. or Mrs. If it's got your surname, it's a fiction. Same if it's got a Mr. or Mrs. That's why you must tell them what you are addressed as, and you don't deviate it from it. Okay. This trust, now let me just explain how this comes about. When you are born, they can't claim you because the mother claims you. So what they do is after you are born, the placenta is then born, and the placenta is stillborn. They then weigh it, which gives it standing in the physical realm, and they claim ownership of your placenta. And they name it. And they create a trust account for it. Now, your living body has been dependent on the placenta while it's in the womb. So they rightfully make you the dependent, the beneficiary of the trust account. And then they trade these trust accounts. So they've done nothing illegal. It's not fraud to do that. They've created a trust account and you are the beneficiary of it. The way that you don't become the beneficiary is they convince you that you are in fact the placenta, that you are the fiction, and they get you to agree to that through a bank account in the fiction name, through a housing loan in the fiction name, through a driver's license in the fiction name, through a passport in the fiction name. Through all of this, they get you to believe that you are in fact that entity. And therefore they can treat you as a dead entity that has no rights. Until such time as you come back and you say, no, I'm a living man, woman, and I understand I'm the beneficiary of that account. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because people say, oh, I want the access to those accounts. Those trust accounts have like millions and millions of dollars in it. But you have to do it properly. It's not your money. It's like if I set up a will and I make a trust account for any number of you and you're the beneficiary, and you say, well, I want the money because it's my money. Yeah, but I'm not dead yet. You can't get it until I'm dead. It's only your money once I'm dead. So you have to go through this process where you have to prove that the fiction is dead. And they don't want you to do that. It's not your money anyway. They've been trading off your placenta, which was abandoned by your mother. Under maritime law, the placenta was abandoned and they salvaged it. And they took ownership and they made the trust accounts on that. This is how that they get around all of this stuff. And if you try to go into any one of their courts as a living man or woman, they have no authority to deal with you, and they won't deal with you. They'll keep wanting to call you Mr. or Mrs.
Mhm.
They can't deal with this. There's no point asking them. You just keep putting them in place and you say, you are the trustee of the fiction. I'm instructing you as the beneficiary to settle the matter. I'm the settler. This is what should happen. There's all sorts of things you can do. But if you don't have this document in place, they will railroad you. They railroaded me, but they didn't realise that in the process, they were actually providing me with evidence of their conspiracy and fraud. And now I'm in the process of filing private criminal charges against them for that very matter. So there's ways to make these people accountable. But if you don't have your paper trail, you got nothing. Okay, so we rebut all of those things, all the names. And as you read through this, you will get an education. Okay, you read this and go, oh, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So read it carefully. Because what you need is a change in the way that you think. So that if you're confronted, you don't answer any questions. You put them in a position where they have to provide the answers to the questions. Now, I don't think there's anything else in here that needs to be done. You just work through it systematically. And remember that you don't have to prove a single thing on here. They have to prove it's not true. So what we go through, and you can see here, we're rebutting all of these organisations. Commonwealth of Australia, Australian government, these are all corporate fictions. And we're saying I have no obligation to that unless I sign a contract. So here's a list of all of these organisations. You can add in from the same sort of things from other states if you wish. Anything that's got an ABN is a corporation. Okay, so we're listing all of them. Now, I don't have to list all of them because I've actually done it by rebutting the unum sanctum. But this is repetition to reinforce. So just in case you're not sure, State of Victoria, you're out. Department of Justice of the State of Victoria, you're out. Okay, I list them all. So when they try to, like the Magistrates Court, I've actually dismissed the Magistrates Court from ever acting against me because they're fraudulent. And then they went and proceeded and acted anyway. So now they're acting criminally, to which the registrar and the clerks of the courts will be held accountable because they didn't rebut it. When I sent them notice of acceptance, they had 28 days to answer. And by not answering under their rules, he who does not deny accepts. Okay, so you block them into corners. What else have we got in here? Department of Justice. So that's Department of Justice is Magistrates Court, County Court. Now, they'll argue that their courts were set up by a legal process, which is true. A legislative process sets up the space, but there is no legislation anywhere that gives the capital lettered Magistrates Court authority to run that place. So the lowercase Magistrates Court is the space where justice is supposed to be held. But they've put themselves in as administrators through a corporation, foreign corporation, called capital lettered Magistrates Court, which has no authority. So when I go into the courts, I challenge them on that because I give them rulings from my court. They say, well, we don't acknowledge your court. I said, thank you. Under equity of law, I do not have to acknowledge your court, and I do not. But if I don't have the paperwork and I haven't already filed it with them, I've got nothing to stand on. So I hit them with all this documentation before I even walk through the door. Okay, and I don't go in there as the fiction. I go in there, I don't make an appearance. I make an attendance as a living man witness to the fraud. That's my standing. I've sent it to them in writing. So they go in there and they try to turn me back into the person, which means they're complicit in the fraud. This is why this piece of paper and understanding this process is so important for you in dealing with them. And we'll just get through to the end there and we'll throw it open to questions. Police Vic is a corporation. They don't have authority anywhere in any legislation. Nowhere. It's all a huge con job.
So everything they're doing is a crime.
Yes. But if you consent to it, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a driver license, you've consented. So when they try to hit you with a fine or whatever, and you show them your driver's license, you've got no standing because you're a dead fiction. Even if you go in there and argue, they don't take any notice of what you've said because you are a
Fiction.
Dead fiction. All righty. You should be able to wade your way through the rest of that because it's just simple replacement of information. And read how it's been put together. There's a section here if you have offspring. Now, don't use the word children because a child is defined as someone who is adopted or stillborn. A live born offspring, they have no control over. So get out of the habit of using children and get out of the habit of saying, I'm a parent. A pair who rents the child means that you don't own it, you're renting it. I'm not a parent, I'm the father of my offspring. Okay. Anything else here? No, that's pretty good. Now, when you've done all of that, take out these sections here that says your simple name in purple pen, because that's where you're going to put your autograph down. these ones here, where it gives you instructions. You take those out, take out fingerprint or blood sample, and simply put the name of the soul in purple. Purple pen is the king's colour, royalty colour. So you autograph it in purple. Now, just so you know, and then under here in red pen, you're going to put the living name, the living man or woman name, but not with a surname. So if you're Mary Jane of the family Smith, you put your autograph as Mary Jane. Now, when I mark a document, I put my sole name. Let me get out of here now. I put my sole name in red, in purple. I'm looking around to see if I've got one handy for you. Yes. Okay. Now you'll see there, I've put my sole name in purple. I've written my living man name through it in red. Then I have stamped it with my court's stamp, my king's stamp, which anyone can make up. Costs you about $30.
The names are in the stamp?
No, the stamp, for instance, my
I couldn't
stamp.
see it,
That's my stamp.
but the names, the stamp was on the names when you stamped it?
No, no.
Can you show the paper again? Because I couldn't see well.
I pick up a purple pen.
Right.
I write Alex.
Yeah.
Put it down. I pick up a red pen, and through it, I put Trevor John.
All right.
Then I put this stamp over the top of that, which has Latin at the top of it, which has got Fiat Justitia Ruit Caelum, which is justice is in heaven, i.e. that's where my authority is. And then under that, it's got seal of Lord Trevor John. And then it has the Alexander family crest in the middle. You can do whatever you want. That's my stamp. I'm the creator. I own that. I put that over the top. I am stamping, I'm authorizing the document from my court. And then I get red ink pen and I put my thumbprint over the top of all of it. There is no way known that my authority is going to be forged.
Alex, how did that look on the sheet that you just showed?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay,
Now,
thank
the
you.
other thing that I have is in the top left-hand corner of every document, that is my flag. Now, quite simply, all that is, it's the Eureka flag, which is the living men and women born on this land of Terra Australis, standing up to unjust government. That's what it represents. I have my family coat of arms in the middle, and I've got Fiat Justitia Ruit Caelum across the top. Now, by putting that here in the top left-hand corner of the document, it means everything in this document comes under that flag. If you look at a police infringement notice or anything like that, the top left-hand corner, what have they got? Their logo, their trademark. They're saying everything that's under here, if you don't challenge it, comes under our jurisdiction. So you challenge it. You say, I don't come under the jurisdiction of the Vatican. So you establish yourself as an independent nation, if you want to look at it that way, an independent nation with your own flag, your own authority. And if you want to go as far as setting up, some people have set up an executive office, which you can do. I've actually set my own court up. The Moot Court of Terra Australis is my court. And my court gives rulings and judgments for living men and women. And a ruling from a court of the living has to have authority over a court of the dead. So when they dismiss my court and they say, well, never heard of it, not going to bother about it, I throw it back at them and I go, thank you very much. Under the equity of the law, I don't have to take any notice of your court either. Okay, I set them up to use their own system against them. They will still railroad you because they think they can. But what you are doing is you are accumulating evidence of serious indictable offences. Then you file private criminal prosecutions against them for serious indictable offences: armed kidnap, fraud, treason.
Have you done that, Alex? Have you done that yet?
Yep. And the magistrates court have had the documents for 6 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
And despite me saying to them, why haven't you processed them? Oh, we've sent them off to the chief magistrate. That's how powerful these documents are. The local courts are so shit scared of these documents that they hand them on to the chief magistrate, because the court where I filed them are actually in the charges. The registrars, the clerks of the courts, the magistrates at the county court, at the magistrates court, are actually in the criminal charges.
So you've named them all?
They're all named.
Individuals?
Yep.
Yep.
And
so you've got their names on the day?
Oh, yeah, always. Even if you haven't, you can always ring up the police and say, I want the names of these policemen who were there. I want the name of who was the clerk of the courts in this matter.
And they'll give it to you?
They have to.
Yep.
So then the situation now is the chief magistrate is trying to pretend that these things are going away and disappear. So 6 weeks, he doesn't know how to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
He can't not process it, because that would be perverting the course of justice. Okay? But if he processes it, then suddenly all of these people within his system are up on criminal charges that will keep them in jail for the rest of their life. Because it's not a question, did they do it or not? They can't say, oh, I didn't do it, because they've already admitted they've done it. The only defence that they have is that they were authorised to do it. And they don't have any authority.
They don't have any authority, but how can you say that they've already admitted that they've done it?
Well, because it's been done, it's been recorded. They've passed judgment. They do they've submitted all of their paperwork against me in the court case.
Yeah.
Claiming that this is what they did. They've given evidence under oath.
And
so they can't say they didn't do it.
Do you get a copy of that paperwork?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the transcripts as well. In fact, one of the judges, because I lifted it up to the judge's level, the judge refused to give me the transcript because I trapped him about a dozen times in the course of the hearing into committing big faux pas.
So he didn't pass it on to you?
He refused to give it to me. So then I subpoenaed him from my court, and he ignored the subpoena. Right? So you're just accumulating evidence, because when the matter eventually goes and they're being charged with criminal offences, you've got all this evidence of them acting inappropriately and criminally.
And if everyone was doing this, then
the system would collapse.
Yeah. So we need to learn this stuff.
Absolutely. And it's not hard to do. See, what they'll try and do now is they'll try and pass it on to the Office of Public Prosecutions and get the chief public prosecutor to review it as to whether it can go ahead. And I say, no, this is not a public prosecution. This is a private prosecution. It's got nothing to do with you guys.
How do you know this stuff?
It's common sense. Once you start going, and look, I take my hat off to all of you, because you've got so fed up with the system that you want to go, hang on a minute, there's got to be another way of doing this. And I want to share as much as I know as quick as I can so that you guys can be doing exactly what I do.
great.
And it's not hard. There's only one thing you've got to change. Your perception.
Yeah, it's
You've got to get it out of your
so
head that you're
embedded.
answerable to them. You're
It's
not.
so
You're only
embedded.
answerable to your creator.
Mm.
So long as you've got the paperwork, and we're providing you with the paperwork so you can learn and ask the questions. How do we do it? Is it easy? Doing the paperwork is easy.
Yeah.
Dealing with their system, which is trying to fraudulently cover it up and do all of that, it's a process. So that's why I say to people, you're not going into the court tomorrow to win. You're going into the court tomorrow to accumulate evidence of their crimes and to trap them into making more crimes. Because at the end of the day, you're going to file commercial liens against these guys, and everything that they own will be under your commercial lien.
What does that mean? Commercial.
Well, let's say I borrowed $20,000 from you and then I didn't pay it back. You'd send me a reminder notice. You'd send me an invoice. Then you'd send me a reminder notice. And if I still did say, oh, well, I'm not going to pay, you'd say, well, I'm going to have to take out a commercial lien against you. Okay. And so you take a commercial lien out and you put it in the paper, and that's it. I'm stuffed because I now am under a commercial lien, which means you own everything that I own.
How do we learn to do the process of doing the lien?
We'll take you through it step by step. Take you through it. It's like, let's learn to walk before we can run. Let's learn to crawl. Get your affidavits in place. Get your foundation documents in place. If you're going to walk a tightrope, what's the first thing you have to put in place?
The rope.
No, the safety net.
The what?
The safety net.
Oh, yes.
Okay, the safety net. You don't go walking out across the tightrope until you've got your safety net set up first. That's what your affidavit is. And the ones from your mother and father, if you've got them, and do them for your children as quick as you can too. Because if you actually ever look at your children's birth certificate, they put in that the mother is the informant. So the informant, i.e. the mother, needs to rescind that straight away with an affidavit saying, I knew nothing about what was going on here. I withdraw my testimony because I wasn't being told the truth. So we set all our paperwork up. We get the commercial liens in place. Look, I've got commercial liens against 6 police that are over $10 billion each and increasing 3% per day. My objective in the long run will be, I'll walk into a bank and I'll say, I want to buy some property. I want to use these commercial liens as collateral. I have $60 billion of collateral and I want you to lend me $60 million to buy some land.
Will they accept this?
This is their process. They do this for all other companies and corporations. And then when I don't pay, who do they come after? They come after the people who have the collateral. So they'll be coming after the police and the judges, all those people who have not paid the commercial lien. Okay, I'm not doing this to become wealthy, and I'm doing it to smash their system apart from the inside.
Because they wouldn't be able to support that.
They can't. Once the commercial lien's in place, there's no argument. The only way you can remove a commercial lien is by dying or paying it off.
So if everyone was doing this again, it would just smash the system.
Yep.
Because the commercial lien...
And there are people. There's a guy called Daniel Luke up in northern part of Australia, and he did the executive office way, and he took a commercial lien against a cop and bankrupted him. Because you're using their system against them. That's why I say, no, you don't want to destroy their system. Their system is beautiful for commerce and trade. But what we have to do is we have to smash it so it's only for commerce and trade, not for slavery. Because they abolished slavery once they had put this system into place.
But we are debt slaves.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Until such time as you go, sorry, no, not gonna tolerate that crap anymore.
Mm.
All righty. Any other questions?
I have a question, but it might be a little bit involved, and I think I sort of know part of the answer. A friend of mine, I've just come back to Mornington. They own a particular shop, and they didn't force their employees to get vaccinated. So she's had the COVID task force beating at her door. She's had now she's today, I think in particular, they came and they have
Okay, Ree, I'm going to stop you here.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing lots of story and I've got no idea what it's to do with.
Oh.
Give me what the bottom line is first, so I know where I can put things into practice.
They've fined her basically.
Okay, well, see, that's simple, right? But they didn't fine her, they fined the business.
Yeah.
Okay. All she has to do is open the door and don't trade as the business. Just say, no, I'm just a living woman and I'm doing this for subsistence. The business has given me permission to use the space.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The other thing she does is that she sends a letter back saying, I'm quite happy to pay this bill or this fine, provided you can provide me with the following evidence. Proof that the virus exists, independent scientific study that it exists, proof that it's caused death. So I need autopsy results from all of those people you claim have died from the COVID virus. I want autopsy results from all of those people overseas to justify that it actually is a pandemic. Now, when you can provide me all of those documents, I'll be in a position to be able to pay if in fact it's true. It's conditional response. And they can't provide those documents. They know this, but they know that people are stupid and they won't know how to challenge it.
Yes.
But already we're hearing stories about hundreds of police fines for not wearing a mask being withdrawn, not being processed.
Uh-huh.
It's all just a scare tactic.
So, number one, proof of evidence that the virus exists, and then number two.
Yeah, I think we've got a notice of conditional. I think Shell's got a notice of conditional acceptance that lists all of these things. There's quite a long list of documents that they have to provide, and they have to provide all of them within 28 days.
Oh,
Can I get that from you, Shell?
Can you share it?
Yeah, I think Shell's got a copy of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shoot me an email and I'll attach it and send it back.
And I want to publicly say this. Shell is doing an amazing job of getting this information out to people and really informing people. And I take my hat off to her because it can be time consuming. And, you know, people are always wanting your problem solved straight away, which is not always the thing. Yeah. And she's got a pup that hasn't had pups yet.
Oh.
Still waiting on that. We were hoping. Did you give her the warm milk last night?
We did, and we've dragged our mattress out on the floor, hence why we've got no video tonight, because we're out here next to her.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's still not working.
Oh, just be patient. She'll know when the time's right. She's probably thinking, I might wait till Christmas. Oh. Christmas would be a good time to steal all the attention.
Can I ask a question?
Can we use the People's Court of Terra Australis?
Yes. At the moment,
because we don't have our own individual court.
Oh, look, I'm so annoyed because, as most of you know, I had common law courts set to go in June last year until bloody Dr. Barry came along and screwed the whole process up, and then said a week ago, "Oh, we've held a court. You know, aren't we clever?" No, you just delayed everything by 18 months for everybody, you dickhead. And he's probably not even done it properly. There's probably huge flaws in the paperwork and everything because he just wanted to get off and do it. There's no reason why we can't have courts. My court at the moment can give ex debito rulings. So if you provide me with the paperwork that shows that you have sent them documents and done all of this and they've had a chance to respond and they haven't responded, then the court will make a judgment ex debito that the proper processes have been held, doesn't need to go to court because they've defaulted. If we want to hold someone personally accountable, we can set up a common law court, a court of the people, an international court, whatever we want to call it, but we need to do it properly. You need to put a notice out.
Yeah, we're in the final stages of
when you guys are ready to go, just
we're in the final stages of the People's Court. Yeah.
And you can have them.
Sorry, there's a delay.
Yeah, you can have them over video. Is possible to do them, but they've got to be done properly. And I've given all of that paperwork to Shell as to how it should happen.
Yep.
The quicker we can get the people off their asses and actually holding these courts, setting up their own councils, have your own court, your own council, and you set up the alternate system, you quite simply say, we don't come under your system, but you come under ours because you're a living man. I'm not a fiction. I don't come under your system. You're a living man. You come under the system of the people. I wish we could get the First Nations people fully on board with all of this, but while the First Nations people are fighting amongst themselves, it's like, guys, seriously, it's like in Ireland, when you've got the Catholics and Protestants fighting over something that happened over 400 years ago. It's like, guys, seriously, you need to move on. You need to wake up. So I'm here to support you guys as much as possible with all of that. Just let me know what you need. And yeah, you can take them through their court system under commercial lien system and private criminal prosecution, and you can take them through the same thing in a common law court. You can take them through both.
Excellent.
Can I ask a question, Alex?
Sure can.
What happens once you put in your affidavit and you change your address?
The affidavit stands as the content of it. That it is just a contact address, because you don't live at an address, you live in your body.
I can.
And once you've served it on them and they have it, it doesn't matter where you move to. If they go against it, you just keep referring back to the fact, I'm sorry, under clause 42 of the unchallenged affidavit, you have no authority. Doesn't matter where I live. But my contact address is now this. It's not a problem.
Yeah,
Not a problem.
Yep.
I have a question, please.
Yep.
So I sent my affidavit out last week. All but one has been delivered. One that's going to Parliament House in Sydney has been sitting at Strathfield for the last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, what's going on there? It's just sitting there. It's not moving.
Okay. What you can do is get an email address and send it to the email address, saying that the hard copy has been sent through the post, through registered mail. You're sending them a copy as well, because they now accept that if it's been emailed to somebody, then it's been delivered.
Okay, cool.
In fact, I've got a list of 50 police email addresses. So whenever I give something, I walk into the police station, I hand it on the desk and say, this has now been served on Chief Commissioner and all Victorian members of police. I get the name of the guy who is behind the desk. I come home and I email a copy to 50 police email addresses and prosecutions units around the state, saying, I've just personally handed this to this station, to this officer, you've been served. So they can't turn around and say, oh, it hasn't been served.
Yeah, thank you.
And you can do the same thing with parliaments, with Service New South Wales, with all of these things. You get an email address for someone that's there, and because it's notice to principal is notice to agent, and vice versa, you could serve it on the lady who cleans the toilets or the man who cleans the toilets, and it's been served on the CEO.
So it's better to do both, registered and email.
Yep. Yep, I do that.
Alex, I just want to clarify something. Because you've got sole name, given name, and then obviously we know family name is a surname. So if, for example, my name's Robert, I obviously put Robert in your sole name. What about where you got given name? I mean, is that if you got a middle name or something?
Now this is what I'm mentioning earlier. Try to make your sole name something different to your given name so that it's clearly there's separate entities.
So if I made sole name Rob as opposed to given name Robert, is that okay?
Absolutely. If I was you, I'd be picking a really nice god's name, like Apollo or Zeus, something that's got some impact. I think if you're going to have a sole name,
You mean in terms of the sole name?
Yeah, in terms of your sole name, because your given name is what your mother gave you. Have you got a middle name?
No, not a birth middle name, but what's called a confirmation middle name.
Okay, so your mother just called you Robert.
Yeah.
So your given name is Robert.
Yeah.
And you happen to be of the family, house, clan, tribe, whatever. Now, when you see that, family / house / tribe / clan, it's not multiple choice. You don't pick one. You leave them all in there. Because what you're saying is, whatever you want to call it, that's what I'm part of. Whether you want to call it a family or a clan or a tribe, but it's a surname I don't have. A surname was a name that's put on to bring it under their system.
Yeah.
So
sole name is just something that you pick yourself, you're saying?
Yeah, what do you want to call yourself? I never liked my name. My mother named me Trevor John, and I never resonated with it, never liked it.
Yeah.
So when I suddenly got around to it and I went, oh, bloody hell, I'm going to name what I'm going to resonate, and I'm going to call myself Alex, because what I started doing, I started writing musicals and plays and all sorts of things under a pseudonym under that name, under Alex. And it just felt so much better. And then when I started writing more spiritual stuff, I had another name, which was an anagram. Yeah. So Alexander Retroff is an anagram of my name, but it resonates more strongly with me. Yeah. So I'm just, my soul name, I'm Alex, and it's simple.
But what if you like your name?
Well, you can keep it. If you resonate with it, you can keep it. But there'll always be confusion between your soul name and your given name.
Right.
And I suggest that you make them very different, so it's very clear that people are talking to. I'm sorry, when you're talking to me, you're talking to the soul. You're not talking to the physical body.
Right.
Physical body is just a vessel. So I operate on this level.
Because Alex, what I've got is I ended up getting a speeding fine, and it started off with 227, and now it's 253. I ended up sending them just a document by registered post, which just had the Victorian ABN police details on it, saying you're a corporation and show us your contract. Provide a
yeah, they'll just ignore all that. They'll just ignore all of that. Just keep firing back to it, saying you haven't responded to my. You've got to send them a notice.
Okay.
Right. So tell you what, to save everybody's time, Robert, just scan everything you've got and send it through to me.
What email do I send it?
To the moot court.
I don't have those details.
Oh, I'll put it in the chat.
Here. It's the first time I'm here.
Well, you emailed me earlier, so you've got me.
Oh, that was through Facebook.
Well, that's okay. You can send me the documents through Facebook. That's fine.
Yeah, all right.
Can I have your email, Alex? Because I haven't got it either.
All right. I'm going to put it in the chat window. Mm-hmm. Oops. Okay. So all my stuff for this goes through this email. I've got a number of different emails depending on what the material's about. So that if you email me anything to do with this stuff, this is where you'll always get it, and it was processed. If you email me something through my personal email to do with this, I may very well even ignore it.
Shallan Daniel, is it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question regarding the private accounts?
You can just put me on hold and let me have a quick look at the catch up on here. We got replies from Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning. Forward our affidavits to them. I'm not sure to discuss here. Jules and Brent, if you want to contact me just through Facebook and have a chat about that, that's probably going to be easier. Kept our eldest children's placentas when we started waking up. Yes, that does mean it wasn't salvaged. Yes, it means they've created a complete fraud. If you kept the placentas and they didn't weigh them, then how can they have created a trust account? Now they have committed a fraud.
Wait a minute, do they have any proof they have the placenta?
Well, it doesn't work that way. The state would have to prove that they had it because they would have had to have weighed it. And if they don't have a record of the weight, that means they didn't get it. And that with the testimony of the actual mother and father who's saying, no, we kept the placentas, then the evidence is that then how did they create a trust account? Right? So this is where it's all about evidence down the track.
But they don't have any evidence of their having the placenta. Just
yes,
like
they have to sustain their position. Otherwise, they've acted unlawfully.
We've got photos on Facebook of our kids planting their placentas, much to most people's disgust.
Beautiful. Question for a friend. She's unable to pay minimum amount due on a credit card and now has no income. Right. The credit card situation is quite simple. You send a notice of direction and instruction to the Registrar General in your state, instructing them to pay the bill. It's pretty simple because the trustee of the fiction name, which is who the credit account belongs to, is the Registrar General in the state. So you send them an instruction notice telling them to pay the attached bills.
Oh, that's right. Thanks. Yes. Thank you, Alex. I was trying to explain to her and I mentioned the straw man and she said, I just don't understand you. So I said, well, look, I'll ask Alex for you.
Well, Shell's got a copy of that, the notice of direction instruction. So send her that. And if she wants, just tell her to contact me and I'll explain it in simple stuff.
Oh, thank you so much.
All righty. Now back to the other question was what?
Me.
No? Yeah.
I asked about the private account.
The private account. Have you gone to the bank and asked that you want to transfer the money from the...
No, I just wanted to ask them if they can give me information about private account. I didn't want to start, all that. And of course, they denied it exists, only personal account. And now what? I can't convince them otherwise.
Well, what you're doing is you're exposing the fact that they made an account out fraudulently, that they used fraudulent IDs. See, what you're doing is by creating the truth, you put them in a position where they have to go against it, saying, what ID would you require to set up a private account? They'll say, a driver's license, but they're all fraudulent documents. Are you saying that you take fraudulent documents to establish accounts? Because they know the fraud, that the average teller won't have a clue what's going on. But the higher you go up, the more you know about it. So you accumulate your evidence and then you slap a charge of fraud on them.
So if I have a chat with a manager asking about the private account and he denies about the existence of such account, well then?
Well, then we start to have a little bit of fun because what account have you got with them?
they just offering the personal account.
But that's for a fiction. So they're taking your money and they're putting it into an account that belongs to a fiction.
Well, I can't tell them that in
Yes, you
words.
can. That's what you say to them. So what you're telling me is that you won't take my money as a living woman and put it into a private account, which I know you can do. But what you're going to do is you're going to take my money under the pretext of a fiction, which is a fraud created by the state, and you're telling me that you're complicit in the fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So you better put into writing what's going on, because I'm going to expose your fraud. And this is where it helps if you've got a mortgage with them.
No.
Because then you say, I'm going to expose your fraud now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to want all of my money back with interest, and I'm going to retain ownership of the property. And people have done this.
No, I don't have a property.
Okay, but there's ways around it.
Alex, question? If you
Last one, Galaxy, my email address is right above your, oh no, it went to Jules and Brent. My apologies. It didn't go to everyone.
No, I didn't get nothing.
Yeah, that's all right. No, that's not right. What's going on here? All right, done. There it is. Last one, read.
Thank you.
Just going back to the affidavit, you're filling out the affidavit claiming your live entity and your properties in your dogma name, and you said to sell it to yourself. How would you do that transaction?
Bill of sale.
Bill of sale, just simply.
I think, who was it sent me one today? Was it Brent and Jules? Somebody sent me one today and said, is this okay for a bill of sale?
That was me.
Yeah. I said, yep, beautiful.
Oh,
I think I only
okay.
made one slight little suggestion of change, but
No.
it's just a simple bill of sale where the fiction
Bill of sale.
sells the property
Mhm.
to the living man or woman for
So,
one silver coin. Something
okay,
like
so
that.
I might say in capital letters, my name sells the property to the living entity.
Hey, Jane's just done one. Why don't you
Yeah,
say to Jane, can I get a copy of
can I
it?
get a copy of that, Jane?
Yeah, happy to
Happy
send
to.
it through.
Yeah. How do I get your email?
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank
You
you.
can do a private message to each other and do all of that. But it's
Yeah.
that simple, and this is how we help one another.
Can
Yeah.
I ask a question on that, Alex? What sort of money do you put on that? What can you put, a dollar or
Yeah.
whatever
One
you
silver coin. One silver coin. Because a dollar means nothing.
silver
One
coin?
Yeah, it's got
silver.
to be coin, because the
Oh,
only
I'm glad
the only
you-
currency in this country is coins. Paper currency and numbers are not currency. If you sell it for a silver coin, it's legit. I suggest that if you want some query on this, read the Bills of Exchange Act. Read the Bills of Exchange Act.
The Bills of Exchange Act. Let me have a
Yeah.
look at
I
that.
can't remember. I think it's 1974 from memory or something. Might even be earlier.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Alex.
You find all sorts of really interesting little bits and pieces. Because once you've done a bill of exchange, it's sold. They can't tell you. See, stamp duties and stamp taxes and all these valuations, that's just their fraudulent way of milking everybody.
Oh God, don't they?
Mm.
See, at the end of the day, you don't own, the fiction doesn't own the property.
Mm.
The fiction owns the coordinates. Okay, so you have to make a sale of the property. It gets really into interesting stuff, because then the question comes to down, well, who does own the property? And you know what the answer to that is?
No.
He who creates owns. Who created the property?
God.
God.
Yeah.
So ultimately, this is why the First Nations people become important, because they're the caretakers of the land that is owned by God, created by God. No one owns the land unless they buy it off God.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing a transfer of caretakership, if anything. But that's a whole other area to get into.
Okay.
But what we want to do is we want to create documents that force them to be challenged.
Yeah.
See, if there's only their documents, there's no dispute.
Yeah.
That's the way they work. That there's only their documents. Anything else comes in, they try and negate it. So there's no dispute. So we force documents into their system. We say, well, now there's a dispute.
Yeah.
And our affidavit is very clear about what's not in dispute. So the only thing the dispute can be about things that this doesn't cover. Well, this covers everything, so there's no dispute. All righty, that was a good session tonight, folks.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you all next Thursday night, which will be the last one before Christmas. So bring your Christmas hat and your eggnog. And
time Thursday, Alex?
It's 7:30 Brisbane time. Every Thursday night, 7:30 Brisbane time, which is 8:30 New South Wales and Victoria, etc.
How do I get a link automatically for that? Like,
just save it. Just put it into your calendar.
Yeah, all right.
Just save it, put it in, bang, there it is. You don't have to have any new one every week.
Mm-hmm.
And for the rest of you, I'll see you on Wednesday night for Galactic Zoom stuff.
Yes. Yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks again,
Bye-bye.
Shell.
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.